All right, everybody, welcome back to the Forbidden Mountain. Today, I am here and joined by a special guest, none other than
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Dick Burns. What do you do with your hands? What do I do with my hands?
What am I? There's two cameras here. Yep, it's Dick Burns. What's up, everybody?
So, for those of you in the comments and the haters that never ever believe that Dick Burns actually ever really existed, he was in the vlog, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
You did exist. It was a real person.
A couple of people saw that.
A couple people saw that. So, yeah, we're joined by Dick Burns today. What I learned at SCG Philly was that Dick Burns was actually local, which is pretty cool.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Actually, only sometimes.
for only 6 months maybe, but still, we got to take advantage of that, right?
You always got to take advantage of Dick.
Always got to take advantage of Dick. All right, we got to be.
Should we change? Let's change my name to Stick.
Stick to. we could just call you Burns.
Algorithm. Well, I mean, Stick rhymes.
That's true. You know what was funny the other day when we were talking about this? You actually said, "Hey, everybody remembers, Stick Burns because like that's your name."
Yeah.
I grew up, and one of my best friends growing up, his name was Sean, and his last name was Burns.
No relation.
No relation. I know that, but we used to just call him Burns.
Yeah.
We never called him Sean.
Some people don't feel comfortable with Stick coming out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And just call me Burns. So.
All right, that's how.
What's funny?
There's
the name.
There's our cold open, right?
Listen, let's take an ad break right now while Dan collects himself. Because Stick Burns is sponsored by the comic book store in Glassboro, New Jersey.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So I'm actually familiar with the comic book store in Glassboro, New Jersey. It's not that far. It's only like 45 minutes from here.
They sponsor me.
That's awesome. I'm glad.
I do love going there.
So obviously, what brought us together is Disney Lorcana. Now, did you start with Disney Lorcana right away?
Like, did I start playing games with Disney Lorcana?
No, like in chapter 1 where you already invested in the game.
I actually just wanted to play with my kids. I did not want to be around other gamers ever again in my life, but I couldn't get starter decks. I even went to Disney Springs the day they were supposed to be there. Their shipment was late, so I had to buy stuff on TCG Player, which made me buy all the cards on TCG Player. And then when I didn't even read the rules. I just looked at the cards and I was like, oh, I'm the best at this game. I looked at my wife. I was like, I'm going to crush this game. Like, for sure. I'm going to have to play. I'm sorry. She wasn't happy about it, but like, she's cool now after she sees how well it's doing. And my kids swear I'm famous now, thanks to the Forbidden Mountain. I show them every meta report, and they're just as invested as me.
Can you imagine the difference on your kids' faces when you go from getting like a 2.5-minute segment to a whole video?
They have no clue I'm here.
They're still sleeping.
So good. They sleep till like 1.
Shout out to the kids.
Yeah. Tessa, Alice, you're bad, but I love you.
There we go.
Alice is named after Alice in Wonderland.
That checks out.
We don't go to Disney World, but we are a Disney family. We're a Universal.
Universal family. I like Universal for what it's worth. I had a lot of fun there. I've never been to Disney World. I know everyone's gonna blame me in the comments.
I don't know how they don't have like world championships there or something.
Yeah. So ironically, growing up, my sister danced for a living, and I think I was like in high school the first time that they went, but they did like Disney World like 3 times in 4 years, and my mom never brought me.
Well, you got to pick one kid to love.
Yeah. So we spent like our whole lives like where I always tell my sister that she's the favorite because it's like, well, you went to Disney World 3 times and all I got was like Vegas for my 21st, but really my mom just wanted to go to Vegas and it was just an excuse.
I got to rock.
So yeah.
Yeah, my kids fight over who's the favorite all the time. They'll be like, Dad, let's play Truth or Dare. First truth question: who do you love more? Your mom. Go away.
That's a good answer. I'll have to steal that one. So, you've been traveling now, right? Now, ironically, the first time I met you was in Miami, but we only had like a 4-word conversation.
Yep.
And it was really just, hey, I'm Dick Burns.
And I'm awkward.
And I'm awkward, right? Yeah. Like, so that was like literally our entire conversation.
Yep.
But then you show up in Hartford, and we had the pleasure of playing against one another in Hartford.
You played with Stick. I
played with Stick. Yeah, and we even played a mirror stick.
Yeah.
So there's that.
We were slapping them back and forth.
what drove you to Hartford?
My car.
Cool. That's great.
No, so yeah, I was in Miami. I was just vacationing in Florida. I vacation in Florida 4 months a year. I met this guy Manny. Funny enough, let me find all my sponsor papers. I met this guy Manny at Coliseum of Comics in Kissimmee, Florida.
There you
Thank
go.
you. You could PayPal me anytime. And he was always streaming on Twitch, Talman Purple. Is it Talman Purple? It is
It's
Talman
Tedman Purple, yeah.
Yep, it's Talman Purple. And he was like, "Hey, I'm really good at card games." I was like, "Prove it." He showed me, all of how well he's done in Magic over the years. I'm like, "Okay, you're right." Um, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be on a Lorcana team. I want you on it."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "No." I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to meet other people. This is awful. And he's like, "No, they pay me." I'm like, "Okay, I'm in." Sticks in there. So the owner of the team did not think I was a real person.
Yeah, because your name's Dick Burns.
Yeah, I even saw him on FaceTime.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, okay.
That's the guy you hired off the street?
Yeah, Manny just wants me to send him a contract for, Stick Burns. Ha. He's going to frame it. So, Manny's like, "Listen, if you do well in a tournament, you're in. Like,
Okay.
you're definitely in." So Hartford was the next big tournament. I did terrible in Miami, which was a travesty.
You didn't make the Meta Report in Miami.
I did not. And you know what? I had a whole speech written out on my drive to Miami. I drive everywhere. I drove to Hartford from Florida.
Yeah.
I had a whole speech.
Is that like 20 hours?
It was too long. I had my kids with me. We stopped to pee constantly.
Okay.
When one goes, the other one swears they can't. But
then an hour later they do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right in the car seat. But yeah. So I'm like cutting a promo in the mirror. I'm like, "Yeah, you're the best. You're gonna crush this. You're gonna get an interview on the Meta Report. Everyone's gonna know you. You're gonna pick up sponsors." I was right that if I did well, I was gonna pick up sponsors. So I go to Hartford Friday, nightmare. I lose a winning in to George. I then have another winning in, which I lost again to the mirror. And again, it was just like I ended the game with like Teeth and Ambition sitting in my hand. I'm like, this card's garbage. There's no way this card's good. I cut it, put the crabs in, played sick crabs deck, and top 8 at Saturday. It was pretty easy. I didn't play anyone of real note. Just Dan the last couple rounds. Got myself a play mat.
Yeah, he walked home with my play mat.
I beat him so bad I took the play mat.
It was a prize.
Yeah. So top 8 at that, and the owner of Luxury was there, Nick.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I mean, if this was a job interview, you got it. Like, you're on." Unfortunately, they did not bring me a hoodie in case I top 8'd. No faith in Stick.
Are they based like in the area too?
All the hoodies were in the car. And I understand, like, why would you carry a bunch of hoodies around? Yeah. But yeah, so I just walk around.
Well, for what it's worth, you drew in the final round, right? So they had a whole round to get that hoodie.
They were playing too. Yeah, like Nick
right.
top 8'd Sunday.
Okay.
So it's like they were in it still. A bunch of them cash, like top 16. So yeah, so I walked around to the vendors, and my friend McKinney was there, and at 95 Game Center in Wilmington, Delaware. Check them out. So he was the high bidder to sponsor me for that one. And funny enough, hopefully you can put the photo up. I was next to Rob in our top 8 photo. First time meeting Rob, who's like arguably the best player. Was like, "Hey man, can you move over? Because like I'm getting paid to wear this, and I kind of want to show it off so that I can get more sponsors." Yeah, so that was a great experience. And then Sunday, I sit down to play my opponent, shuffling, minding my business. Guy to my left is like, "Hey, are you Dick Burns?" And I'm like, "That's me." Guy to his or my right was like, "You top 8 yesterday, right?" Yep, that's me. My opponent was like, "Oh, I'm intimidated now." I'm like, "No, I'm bad. Ask Scott Landis. I can't even win a Spectral Tiger. I'm terrible." Uh, I look up. There's 10 people behind my opponent that just want to ask me if my real name is Dick Burns.
Nice.
Yeah, which my real name is Dick Burns.
Okay.
I'm the third. I forgot. Stick Burns.
Stick
Real
Burns.
name Stick.
Stick.
Stick Harry Burns the third.
There you go.
I come from a long line of sticks. Okay.
Okay.
We are your stick experts here.
There we go.
Yeah. So, but I choose to go by this. I could be Richie Burns. I choose to go by this to like kind of weed out the people I want to hang out with. Like if you're joking with me, awesome, we can be friends. If you're like making fun of me because I choose to go by this name, I don't. I am a 35-year-old man. I don't know why you're trying to make fun of me.
Right.
But I know I don't have to deal with you anymore. Also, like it's memorable. Like, do you remember the guy that top eighted Friday with green steel discard
There was not a top 8 on Friday with Green Seal Discard. He was Sunday, and his name was James.
in Hartford?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I'm actually friends with him.
Okay.
I don't know his name. I'm sorry, I can't remember
Okay.
names. But like, no one would have cared.
For what it's worth, I look at so much information
Yeah.
that it's really hard for me to remember anything. But I remember.
I'm not putting you on the spot.
I remember the Sunday James because I'm the reason he made top 8. So
if you would have said the name, I would have been like.
But if you ask me the name of like all 5 Ruby Amethyst players, it's kind of like cheating because 3 of them were on my team.
So it's like, the name sticks out. Without this, there's no way people are paying me to wear clothing and stickers, and like no one's doing an interview with me if I don't have this name, honestly.
It's interesting that you say that. I don't think I agree with you for what it's worth, but I agree with the conversation starter of it. That I can agree with, but I don't think that that's true because if you were just like not a fun person, people still wouldn't interview you.
Well, yeah.
So you still gotta play the part, right?
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. It helps. It really gets your foot in the door.
That's fair
as well.
That's fair. All right, so let's talk about more recently. So you go to Hartford, you
crush it. We'll just say crush it.
Top 4, right?
Yeah, I got 3rd place.
Yeah, you top 4'd. In Hartford, and then you top 8 at the 1K. Did you also top 4 that?
I got 4th place. That's the only reason I know the placing because I went down and I was really disappointed.
Oh, okay.
I felt like I was regressing, even though it's a big accomplishment.
Fair. So then you come to Philly. We had 110 people on Friday. Were you expecting that level of play on Friday?
I was not, because most people that have been playing are like have not been like professional card game players. Have like most of them are working 9 to 5s.
Yeah.
So I was shocked. It was good. It was a better chance of not like pairing into the grinders.
Sure.
It felt like, especially because I don't expect to win in top 8 at all. I am playing the most generic deck I can because you just have no clue what you're going to play against. Like I played against red yellow aggro in Philly, and like that's not Mufasa. Just straight up like Simba, pound your butt, aggro, and like you just don't expect this. So I just try to play the most generic thing as possible, because if I top 8 and I get my photo on Twitter, I'm getting paid top 4 money. So
sure.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's fair. Before we get into that, you did top 8 the 5K in Philly, so you got your photo.
Yep.
Were you also next to Rob again? Did you have to push him out of the way again?
I was not. I learned to just get in the front.
Okay.
So I'm front and center.
Okay. Yeah. So, I actually remember the photo now of you like on your knees.
Oh yeah. It's not the first. It's not the last. It's a common thing. We got to take another ad break for Dan. Check out Phenomenal Games in Sicklerville, New Jersey.
Yeah. So funny thing about this is that like, Sick shows up today and he's like, "Hey, I got this water bottle from this game store that's probably less than an hour from you." I never heard of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're huge into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay.
And they're huge into the Japanese card games. I've known the owner since I owned a game store, long time, and he's a great guy. He has always been a Yu-Gi-Oh guy though, so like he's always had a good following. I liked the store. I went in there. Unfortunately, they just don't have a crowd for Lorcana. I don't know if they're drowned out by other stores. Speaking of the other stores, check out Top Deck Games.
Yeah,
okay?
we
Another
can.
sponsor.
We always shout out Top Decks on the channel. We
Yep.
go way back. Top Deck is basically my local, even though it's in Jersey and I have to cross a bridge, which blue sticks mine.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, check out Phenomenal Games.
Yeah.
At least let him know you saw this interview because he's a great guy. He got a discount on the sponsorship, if I'm being honest. So
There you go. Yeah, hopefully, like I said, I don't know if he said he has leagues, but they don't show up, so I don't know if he's gonna have a set championship. But
yeah, hopefully.
it's one of those, especially if you're watching, right? Like if you're a set championship person, like we have
It could be free.
it's not that, but we have a Discord or we have a Facebook group for all the local like South Jersey and um, Philadelphia area, Greater Philadelphia area. So like any of these stores that are watching this or hearing about this, like I'm always going to promote those stores because you're local to me. I want you guys to succeed. I want Lorcana to succeed. A couple weeks ago, we went to Unmatched Gaming, right? Which was a store I had never been to before in Reading, and then you did.
Terrible.
We went to dinner that night, early before the top 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the point is that stores like this that I can't fathom that I follow the game so closely in the local community, and I didn't even know this store existed.
Yeah.
So,
but we're deep in Lorcana.
Yeah.
And, like they have so much stuff to worry about, so much overhead.
Sure.
Like if you're not as big as Top Deck with like
Top Deck is
managers
like
and
unreal.
like employees that are dedicated to games. Shout out Anthony Lurdy.
Yeah,
he has been huge for Top Deck's Lorcana community.
Yep.
Legitimately.
Yep. I spoke to him about there's likely unofficially announced having a 1K in May. So.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Yeah. So, getting past our wonderful spiel on the local scene here, even though we also pitched a Florida store, but that's all good.
Hey, if you pay, I'm there. I'll wear any stickers. My contract says I have to wear this hoodie.
You had to play Rob in top 8.
I did.
At Hartford.
I knew you were
Or I'm sorry, at Philly.
In Philly.
So I actually got to watch the majority of this game minus like a minute detraction if I had to walk away and sign up Forbidden Mountain. But
well, you are the most famous.
I'm not the most famous.
Here.
So let's talk me how you feel about that game in general, but also like, just like maybe the this SCG rule of the like choosing seeding for first and second.
Yeah, using Magic first of all, using the Magic rules for Lorcana is silly to me. Mm-hmm. Just straight up. It's silly. There's no actual rule like in the 4-page document we have so far. There's no rule that says there's seeding for play draw. It says roll a dice.
Right.
Rob, listen, even if you didn't bring up Rob, he's been living in my mind rent free. Okay. I wrote my exact thoughts.
Okay.
Verbatim.
That's all you. Okay.
They say all men are created equal, but you look at me, you look at Rob, you see that statement's not true. Okay.
Okay.
See, normally you go one-on-one with another player. Okay. You got 50-50 chance of winning, but he's a genetic freak. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's not normal. So being on the draw, I figured I had a 25% chance at best to beat him. Okay. Then you add this string of good luck he's been having to the mix. Mm-hmm. Like, how many top 8s this guy?
No.
I'm only playing in these events to try to keep par with him.
Okay, that's fair.
I would not have come to Philly. The chances of winning drastically go down. See, in the top 8, I maybe had a 33 1/3 chance of winning, but he had 66 2/3% chance of winning. But, because he knows he's on the play and I shouldn't even try to win, take my 33 1/3 chance minus my 25% chance of winning, and I had an 8 1/3 chance of winning that top 8. But then you take Rob's 75% chance of winning and then add 66 2/3% chance. He had 141 2/3% chance of winning at Star City games. And see, Dan, the numbers don't lie.
Okay.
And they spelled disaster for me at Star City.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I could finally get that off my chest.
Yeah, Rob had you beat 7 ways to Sunday.
It's true. I do love Rob, though. He is such a good guy.
Rob's good.
It's actually
crazy. At least when he beat you, you were like, okay, Rob's a good guy.
I felt good for him. I had a panic attack in game 3, legitimately.
Yeah. There's actually a photo of you
Yeah, I
where
had to
you're
take
like,
my
oh
hoodie off.
hey, I'm having a panic attack in this photo.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I don't actually care if I win or lose, but when I'm losing, I have a panic attack. I have to
Sure.
go outside and lay on the ground. It's the dumbest thing ever. Even at locals, even when I concede to my opponents, I like am in fight or flight mode, I guess, or something. My brain's messed up. So I was having a panic attack. I specifically did not concede because I didn't want there to be any doubt that he was better than me. Like I know he doesn't care about that stuff. He's very humble, but I didn't want to deprive him of whooping me, if that makes sense.
Fair, fair. I mean, that's a competitive mentality, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
if so, because we're gonna get to this point anyway. But like you had said in the beginning, like you opened up a starter deck package, you looked at the cards, and you're like, I'm gonna be the best at this game,
yeah,
right? So that's like your mindset from day one.
yeah.
So now we're 7 months in. Official organized play just announced like their first tournament. How do you feel parring up to some of these players that you've been playing these events with, moving into official organized play?
Legitimately afraid of no one. I always assume going into the match that my opponent is better than me. Just I've always had that mindset. But in Magic, it would worry me, and in this game, I was just like awesome because I know what I need to do. So if they're playing correctly, I should know generally what they are doing as well, and the game should play out how I think they should. Like when you play someone that you just have no bearing on at all, they could just come out of the woodworks. Like Ryan Miles has been crushing people with Prince Eric, Madam Mim giving it rush. Like I was destroying people with a deck. I played him 5 games. He just cleaned the floor with me. So yeah, I think that I think most of us that came from other card games did have an inherent advantage. And I think that will diminish over time, especially for me because I never get to play test. But as of right now, I do think I'm not so humbly in like the top 1% of 1%. I don't genuinely think I'm the best player, but also fake it till you make it.
Fake till you make it. That's a fair assessment. I can't hate on that.
Yeah, I can think of at least 5 people above me now. I'm not going to name a single one because I don't want to forget someone, think about it later, and dwell on it for the
Sure.
next 6 years of my life.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I think it's interesting because now that there is this official organized play, right? I think a lot of it, and like this is like even for me, competitive player my entire life, right? I don't, I never had the attention like when SCG announced their full 5K list, which we assumed is all 5Ks, right?
Yeah.
With the assumption. As soon as I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, I'll do Hartford, I'll do Philly, and then like maybe I'll do Baltimore. But I'm not gonna fly to Atlanta. I'm not gonna fly to Vegas. Like I'm not gonna drive like 8 hours to Richmond, Virginia. Like so to me, I imagine that a lot of players are of that same mindset. So even at these events, like it is great to get like the greater local area. Like if we compare it to some other games, it really is kind of like a greater regional.
Yeah.
So you get like this probably this 4 or 5 hour radius of all the best players. But it's really hard to debate like because person one in that event, they're better than a person that would win in the West Coast because that person on the West Coast isn't even there to defend themselves. And they really don't have a reason to be either, right?
I also don't think winning
Sure.
means anything.
I mean, I think it means
You're
something.
you're the best and luckiest player that day.
Sure. I mean,
I mean,
I think I think if you can track patterns, right?
yeah. Well, like
So
aside from Rob, because like he
well, look at
won
Rob.
8-person top eights.
But even like Dave, I believe it's Dave Nunez. He
Oh yeah,
top eighted a couple events in Cincinnati, top eighted a couple events in Hartford. He won the Sunday event in Philly. So like there's clearly like patterns of players that have been successful in these SCG events.
yeah. Especially considering like he plays what would be considered off meta decks. It's like
Yeah.
I
Sure.
also wonder how much better he would do
If he just
if he
didn't.
just
Well, I don't know
jammed.
because I think
Or if he has an inherent advantage.
I mean I guess it's
Always
also
being on the
combination.
same deck.
Maybe not. I wouldn't. I see what you say by the off meta, but I would also say maybe playing to your strength, and maybe his playing to his strength is just playing aggro decks.
Yeah.
So like if that's his decision, like I'm gonna play to my strength because I want to win games in 4 minutes, then that's cool, right? Like that's an educated decision, especially because he's been successful with it.
Yeah, I
Um,
really like him. I did not know what his face looked like
I actually,
until Philly when
I
he was skating
actually,
something.
yeah, we had a conversation in Philly where he did take his mask off for a little bit, so I totally get that
When he was
sentiment.
talking to you, I was also talking to him and thought I met this man for the first time ever. And then he put his mask back on. I was like, oh, dude.
That's funny. Shout out to Dave.
Yeah, he's great.
So yeah, I think that there's clearly patterns that you can see across multiple players that are incentivizing. Hey, there's a level of success here that you can put yourself in the position. But I do agree that like a lot of the times we get to this point of what did you do for me lately,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to say like, oh well, he won the last event, so like he's the best, right? Like so we can have those conversations, which is fine. And I think sometimes you can be fair about that, but at the same time, to me, everything before the Lorcana challenges,
Just practice.
it doesn't mean a whole lot. And like I'm not like discrediting anybody's wins here. Like I'm not like because I still think it takes a lot of work and a lot of skill and like you said, luck to a greater extent to win a 175 person tournament, to win a 224 person tournament, right? Like that just doesn't happen for everybody at the end of the day. But when I look at all those tournaments, I look at the Lorcana Challenge as like those are the type of events that everyone is going to go to. It's not going to be like, oh, hey, I could drive to Georgia, so I played in this 8K. It's not going to be like, oh, maybe I had found a cheap flight, so I'm going to go to Philly and play in Valley Forge, and I like top 8 it.
Yeah.
The Lorcana Challenge, I think, is going to be the first time. And this is like kind of an inadvertent diss to like the credit here, but if it weren't for people like me trying to find the information about SCG, who the hell would know what anyone did?
That's nuts. Yeah. That like
no one would know what happened in Cincinnati. No one would happen in Philadelphia or Hartford. Like SCG is not even reporting on that. And nothing against, CCS, like they're also really not reporting on it either. So without creators and ink decks and things like that really trying to find information, we wouldn't fucking know who anybody is.
potty mouth.
I know, but I mean, like that's kind of where I'm at. So when you go by comparison, and for what it's worth, I gotta hate a little bit on Ravensburger here. Did anyone see a post about Dave Pendergrass winning PAX Unplugged?
I know.
Nobody. So
yeah,
if it weren't for the content creators of the game, we would literally know zero information about who has been successful in the game to this point.
Like Star City has realized that they don't need stars. Like they created stars in the past. I think they've realized like they can just be successful without creating stars. Mm-hmm. But I still just don't see the downside of creating stars aside from like corner cases like a Bertoncini situation,
sure,
which looks poor for them. I just don't understand why they are not building up people that you want to follow.
For the last 2 weeks, they have made posts about who has won every single Magic event.
Yeah.
But there was not a single post about George winning the 5K.
Yeah. I mean, Magic is the top dog, but it's...
But if you're going to host these tournaments for these other games, and you had 175 people show up, it was more than Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood only had 160 players.
Yeah.
So, like, why are we not trying to push it more? If you want to be successful, why are we not trying to push that more?
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
I'm
so
the
anyway,
choir.
Speaking of Disney Lorcana, right, and the Lorcana challenges. Now, obviously, when the Lorcana challenge start, it's going to be a new format.
Yeah.
But currently, we still have SCG Atlanta, and we have set championships coming up for this format to look out for. So we're going to play a little game now, and little game's called Repeat After Me.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to say a sentence, and then you're going to repeat the sentence with your answer.
You have to explain that part?
Yes.
People won't know?
Yes.
Okay.
You might not know.
It's true.
Hey, listen, I love George, but George only did it like 2 out of 5 times.
Yeah.
All right, so the current best deck in Lorcana is?
The current best deck in Lorcana is arguably the deck you feel most comfortable with, but if I have to be objective, it's going to be red-purple. Like, it has, Kingston the armor, but, like, whenever I play another deck and I pair into a bad matchup, I just think, why am I not playing the deck that doesn't have drastically bad matchups? Yeah, that's that.
Very fair. My destination Lorcana challenge location is.
My destination Lorcana Challenge location is the Greenville, um, whatever the arena is called, because then I can take a bus to it. Otherwise, I don't care. I go on vacation 4 months a year.
That's fair. So you can pretty much just go wherever you want. You don't really care where it's at.
Yeah. Also, luxury. Luxury games. My main sponsor pays me to go wherever I
That's
want
fair.
to go.
That's fair.
So
So I know, like you say, you travel a bunch, but like, is there any? There's not like a position, like a place in the world. You don't have a passport, right? So like,
yeah,
are you looking forward to international travel?
I'm not, because my wife and kids want to come,
Oh,
and it's so expensive.
it is so expensive.
I think this year I'm going to just have to go by myself and figure everything out.
Yeah,
Even like booking a flight, I've always had that done for me by assistants or something.
sure.
So I am like very apprehensive getting on a 13-hour flight, and like maybe our seats are not all together,
Yeah,
and I have a 4 and 6 year old, and
yeah,
we have to pack certain things for them, stuff like that.
yeah.
So
That's fair.
yeah,
That's
I
fair.
will be taking my entire family for sure. I don't like experiencing things without my kids. I feel like my kids are the biggest joy in life,
Mhm.
and there was no reason to do anything without them.
Okay.
Unfortunately, right now it's just going to be prohibitive.
Yeah, that's fair. My goal for every tournament I play in is.
My goal for every tournament I play in is to gain more exposure to me, the game, my friends, and companies that I appreciate. Honestly, I would not. I can make jests about the sponsors I have. I would not take a sponsor from someone I didn't actually think was good for the community. Legitimately, would never.
Mhm. Very fair. Casual Lorcana formats are.
Casual Lorcana formats are the only formats that are played at locals near my house in North Carolina, and I still jam them, even though it's kind of a waste of time for a competitive player. But I think they're really good for the game. Games do not live on competitive players. Any game that has ever centered itself around an audience like us has failed.
Yep.
You need. I love that.
For what it's worth,
local.
we can agree that they need both, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But I love going to a local, and like it's multiplayer, and it's me versus a husband, a wife, and a daughter. This has happened. The son was in another pod. After
Sure.
I won my pod, I told that kid to get over there and get a whooping like his family. But I do love it. I would never let my kids play in a Magic tournament if I could help it.
Sure.
I will take them to locals for Lorcana for sure.
That's good. That's good. With that being said, you were kind of vocal about this, but are you excited for the raid deck that we're calling it, because we're from games that had raid decks?
Yeah.
I actually can't remember the product name. Do you remember the product name that's coming out? The co-op.
No, I just keep calling it.
Okay, so it's a
Raid
raid deck.
decks.
So how excited are you for that? That type of product in Lorcana coming out?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 3, because it's something I could play with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
If I was not married with kids, I would not care at all. I am happy that so far I haven't seen exclusive cards, only like the exclusive border, because I really dislike when games force you to buy stuff that you don't actually want just to take it apart for its contents.
That's fair. It's very, very fair. I remember in World of Warcraft they had like the raid decks that came with specific dungeon packs.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening that was a World of Warcraft player, the most I'd say famous one was Edwin Von Cleef, where like the entire dungeon pack was absolute doo doo.
Yeah.
And you needed 4 Edwin Von Cleefs for basically every deck in the format for like 18 months. And he was a $200 card because of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Teams are important for competitive play because
teams are important for competitive play because people really want to follow. I feel like people want to follow other players, and I feel like they want to learn from them, and that they get invested in them doing well. And I feel like it's much easier if they can follow a group of players. Like, hey, I'm glad every time I see top 8 of a tournament, half of it is the Forbidden Mountain for some reason. But like,
Not me.
I, well, you run into me a couple of times, it's gonna happen.
Running the six.
Yeah, but I think teams are important because I think card games are a team sport. Legitimately, there are outliers. There are people that like just inherently understand and know things, like the guy that taught me to play Magic, Mike McGee, Peg Leg McGee. He's a genius.
Mhm.
He understands everything immediately. He plays in Grand Prix and qualifies for the Pro Tour or whatever, and it's his pre-release because he didn't look at a single card. But that's not 99.9% of people, and everything leading up to the tournament is a team sport. The tournament itself is individual, but you need, like, if you're going to be there for 3 days, many hours a day, you need people to talk to in between rounds. You need distractions. You can't just always be in the competitive mindset. So I think teams are very important.
Very fair. All right, so we're gonna play a couple rounds of Would You Rather. These are way different than anything we've ever done before because I don't have the graphic to just pop up there. So, would you rather Florida or New Jersey?
Florida. Oh my God. It was so cold today. It was so cold today. I had ovaries. Okay. And I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Typically, I'm in Florida right now. Lorcana has messed up my schedule.
Okay.
So oh my God. Also, the locals in Florida are like 40 to 60 people.
60 people?
Yeah.
For like league?
Yeah.
That's
It's not
awesome.
league, it's tournament.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
and like, oh my God, we did a pre release at Coliseum of Comics. They had to ask the One Piece players to stand at the miniatures tables to play because we took up all the space. And I felt terrible because it was actually a scheduled One Piece day.
Yeah.
Like, we were the invaders. We
Right.
should have been standing over there. But I've met so many people who like they love Disney, so they play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been so nice when I go to Coliseum to like teach new players. Like that I find greatly enjoyable. If you ever see me at a tournament and want to ask me anything, please do. Also, I'll sign anything. I've signed 2 cards so far. But yeah, Florida scene is so much more fun. I understand Top Deck's Sunday event is casual and fun, and I've been there a couple of times, and I did enjoy it. But I just everything about the Florida scene I love.
Fair. Ice cream or water ice?
Ice cream. Look at me. Come on.
So if we go to Rita's Water Ice, shout out to Rita's. They're not sponsoring this, but I love them. What are we getting?
I might be able to get a sponsor.
There we go.
Yeah, what are we getting? Oh, at Rita's, I'm getting Sour Patch Kids. Anything, if they have it, it sells out
Instantly.
immediately.
Yeah, my flavor always gets sold out too.
Otherwise, I'm probably getting an ice flight or a gelato.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
because I enjoy every bite to be different.
Okay.
Yeah, like my favorite food is pho.
Okay.
So I can have a noodle bite, a noodle and meat, noodle chili crisp and hoisin, or hot pot. So everything, like you never get tired of what you're eating. So with the ice flight, you can bounce all around. I'm not gonna get ice cream at Rita's. I'm not a savage.
Okay. Paper, Lorcana, or Pixelborn?
Paper. Oh my, ban Pixelborn. People are not gonna like.
Not gonna like that comment.
People are not gonna like this comment. I'm sorry. We should not have access to this much information.
Okay.
We just shouldn't. Like,
the game is not prepared for it either, right?
No. Like, things get figured out too quickly. Things get stagnant too quickly.
Things get overblown too quickly.
Yes. I really, like, I understand utilization of Pixelborn. I don't hate on anyone for using it. I don't use it. My teammate Ferenti kills it on there. He's great, and he is like the biggest proponent in luxury of providing us with information and deck lists. To be fair, so without Pixelborn, like I don't even know if I would have had as much success. Like luckily, I listened to you guys saying what decks to play. Otherwise, oop, cat alert. Um, but I don't think Pixelborn should exist. I think it's weird that it's a third party. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Magic Online should exist either. I understand people are isolated, so I understand
So
it should exist. I'm kind of being hyperbolic here.
you probably understand, like you probably know this better than I do. How long into Magic the Gathering did we get Moda?
I'm not sure. I know seventh edition was like I thought seventh edition was advertising it, but I'm not positive because I was never. I still don't own a computer.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
why you're at my house for this.
Exactly. I'm here. Stick is live. Um, I'm just not a computer person. Also, I only play in paper tournaments. So you should like only if you're playing an online tournament, you should only play online to prepare for it. If you're playing an in-person tournament, you should play in person and prepare for it. But I've just never been savvy with computers. I only got an iPhone because the eBay app came out.
Fair enough.
Previous to that, it was rough for me.
Fair enough. All right, this last one's really tough.
Okay.
Luxury or TFM?
I mean, contracts aside, someone is paying me money here.
Oh, okay.
So
it's not me. It's not me.
yeah. So I had to turn down the Forbidden Mountain, unfortunately.
There you go.
Luxury is we're all in different areas is a big problem. You guys are very centered here.
Yeah.
So while I'm here, hopefully I'll be playtesting with you guys legitimately.
There you go.
But no, I do love luxury, so I'm gonna have to pick luxury.
That's fine. It was a loaded question, and I was never gonna get the right answer.
Stick's always loaded.
Yeah. It's okay. So we are 2 months away from the Lorcana challenges. We just got our first initial spoilers from Ursula's Return. By the way, where did she go?
I don't follow the story. I tried reading the book once, and my kids kept interrupting me. That come with the
troves?
Troves. Yeah.
There's books in there that have story?
Competitive people.
I was always because I know you did, like back in the day when the Fat Packs and Magic had books. Yeah. I love those books. I read them. I'd read that for Lorcana.
Hey, you're not allowed to say Fat Packs anymore.
What are they called now?
I don't know, but you're not big enough to say that word.
Okay.
I don't remember what they're called.
Okay.
But yeah, I know. Yeah, I used to like getting the book actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are people that are deeply invested in the story, and I love that for that.
I do love that. Like, here's the thing.
I know you're not hating on it.
No, I'm not. But like, I'm a big Marvel fan, right? Mm-hmm. My favorite thing to do, honestly, for Marvel stuff is I go to the movie, I see it myself, and then definitely not sponsored here, but shout out to Nerd Riot. Oh my God, why can't I remember the name of the YouTube channel I want to shout out?
I watch Screen Crush.
Yeah, so Scott watches those too, I think. But my favorite thing to do is come home and then like watch their breakdown of the movie.
Yep.
Because
me and my wife will do it on the drive home.
Like I'm a super casual, like I wouldn't call myself super casual fan for Marvel, but definitely not like nerdy geeky level fan where I'm like I know everything that's happening all the time. So that's my favorite things. I love those things. So for the same thing for Lorcana, I can't wait for people to like really like what do we have? A minute 47-second trailer for that. If there are people out there that are so very invested into it, I would love a breakdown of that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, my friend Joe, who runs stuff at Coliseum Comics, like he guessed Into the Inklings was going to be the name of the set.
That's awesome.
Months before it was spoiled from reading flavor text and reading these books.
Nice. There's no way he got Ursula's Return though.
I don't think so. He said he thought one of the future sets would be like the edge of something because it's referenced a couple times
Okay.
apparently where it's like we have to go to the edge of whatever
Okay.
to find the answers.
Okay.
Yeah. So he
Okay.
might be right on future one.
Yeah, that's fair. Someone like you, you tell me you don't really watch TV, you watch YouTube.
Yeah.
What's your feelings on the amount of content creators for Disney Lorcana?
Well, I was pretty much only gonna pick one. I just don't have that much time. Like
Okay.
I'm already on a regimented schedule of Rhett and Link, Philip
Right.
DeFranco,
Right.
SciShow.
You got it.
So I found a couple,
Okay.
and funny enough, you thought this was hilarious when I had revealed this to you like months ago. I researched you
Okay.
because I'm like, never heard of this guy. I don't know if this is going to be a waste of my time. Like, my time is precious to me. So, researched you, found out you were friends with Scott, and I'm like, okay, this is legitimate. And then found out that you were also very much successful in your own right. And I'm like, cool, I can trust everything that they are saying to me. That's another thing is like, I don't want to take in information, but then still have to fact check it.
Sure.
So, like I subscribe to you guys. I subscribe to like one or two other people that when you guys come up, I don't miss a video.
Mhm.
The other ones, hit or miss.
Sure.
Yeah. So like, I mean, there only needs to be a couple of YouTubers. Like, I don't think people need
Really?
to come out of the woodworks.
Interesting.
People only have so much time in a day, and a lot of people are working a job.
Uh,
so it's like,
So I mean, while I agree with that sentiment, I also think that there's a different flavor for every viewer.
that's true.
So like, there's definitely plenty of viewers that probably don't like my content.
Well, I'm only looking for the competitive stuff.
Sure.
So if someone wanted a unboxing of the new raid deck,
Mhm.
like maybe a different channel.
Yeah. That's not going to be us. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I just find that a lot of times what I hear from certain levels of players are, their morning ritual is going on, get their coffee, sit down, start working, and then go to YouTube to see what new video came out today. And I get a lot of compliments saying that we're pretty consistent,
Yeah.
which I think is fair. But I know that there's times where I get on and I go to YouTube and then I go to my subscriptions on the Forbidden Mountain and I'm subscribed to pretty much every YouTube channel that is covering Lorcana because it's kind of just part of my job in a way.
Yeah.
And there are days where you go on and it's like nobody has a video that day, or like there are like certain channels that like might not even have a video like in 3 or 4 weeks. And to me, I think the space is super open for more people, but I understand your sentiment of like your competitiveness wants to be, you want there to be a layer of truth to everything, which I totally respect.
Yeah.
But I also still feel that there's enough to be gained from everything, even if your goal in watching it is finding the flaw, right? Because that keeps yourself in check. Like if I go in, I watch gameplay, and I can identify that on turn 3 a player made a mistake, and then I can confirm it with my team. I'll be like, hey, did anyone else watch this? Can anyone else see like this mistake here and like why this inevitable outcome happens? I still think it's an educated like conversation for competitive players.
Well, here is how I play test. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I watch the meta report.
Sure.
I get to see the pie chart or the graph, and I assume that when I'm playing in a big tournament, that's going to be pretty accurate to
It kind of has
my
been.
odds of running into that deck. I find out the deck that I'm going to play, and then I find 1Ks or anything that streamed gameplay of that.
Sure.
This guy, Jake, in Coliseum Comics, was shocked that I knew him by name. I have grown to be friends with him. He's great. And it was because he had 4 feature matches in a 1K at Versus Games, not sponsored, but hit me up. And so I got to see so much of his gameplay and see how he played differently than you would sit down with the deck and think it should be played.
Mm-hmm.
And without that, I would not have done well in Hartford for sure. So I don't need content every day. I need the meta report once a week. And then I like when there's spoilers, and I can hear just like one sentence about the card.
Mhm.
Like, I think this card is good with this card. I think this card is not good, and here's why. Like, I can draw my own conclusions, but I also don't want to get in like an echo chamber
Sure.
with myself.
Yeah.
So having someone else's opinion on spoilers also very helpful.
It's very, very fair. Yeah. All right. So to close here, we have we have the Lorcana challenge coming up. We have set challenge coming up. We heard of the new Swiss format rules. So I purposely left this for the end, but you were pretty vocal about it on social media.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I opened a Twitter. I haven't been pimping it out or anything, but
We can include it in
too many people like send me private messages on Facebook that I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Please,
you know what's
please
cool?
don't do that.
You know what's cool? They can't do that on Twitter unless you each follow one another.
Okay. Yeah, you could find me on Twitter.
So you don't have to follow
Dick
like anybody,
Burns.
and people can follow you.
Yeah.
And then they won't be able to message you. They have to tweet you.
Okay. Yeah. Move on. If you want to talk to me, tweet me. Apparently, I don't even have the app. I just check it periodically. But yeah, I am actually not typically one to be like, change, the sky's falling.
Sure.
I'm just apprehensive when something is like tried and true and we've all seemed to be okay with it. It's kind of like Coke versus New Coke.
Sure.
Type situation. And I am worried that you are going to get rewarded now for playing worse players with this bonus point. Like, I just don't understand why that's not the tiebreaker. It's also just like there's so many questions that need to be answered, so it kind of does feel like satisfying. Like, can I, if me and you play, can I ask us to intentionally draw where we both win one?
Yeah.
Because that would be asking you to concede one and telling you I will concede one, and we're not allowed to ask people to concede.
Yeah, because I believe at the current juncture, if you report it as a 0-0, neither of you get a point.
Right. Which I understand. You like people. I think the biggest problem, the problem that they're trying to solve, is that people play too slow.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me so much. Like when my opponent takes 1 minute on turn one and then inks a Maleficent Dragon, I'm like, do you think that's the card you were inking on turn one?
Right.
Because I knew that when I drove here. When I paid my entry fee and drove across the country,
yeah,
I knew what I was thinking turn one, and two, and three, and 20. You know, it's just ridiculous. And slow play is so hard to catch in this game.
So I think this is like a really difficult conversation, but
it's true. We need a part two.
It's not that slow play is difficult to catch. It's also difficult to really kind of judge your opponent of doing it, right? Because I do think that there is a layer of average versus above average in the game still.
Yeah.
Where you had mentioned it earlier in the interview where, there's a lot of us topper echelon players that come in with so much experience. And then there's a lot of players that really they've had like minor experience like at FNMs and things like that, and like just local casual events that they're playing at, but like attending a Star City Games or attending an 8K or coming up attending the Lorcana Challenge, like that might be their first time they've ever played in a 7-round tournament.
Yeah.
And I don't think that at your local game store the enforcement on time is fair.
Oh, I agree. I just think once you go to a Star City type event, and Grand Prix were like this, like day one was competitive, day two is professional.
Yeah.
And I feel like once you go to a Star City, it should be professional REL. I think it should be like you knew that there was going to be all these people. You knew that like you need to know your deck inside and out. You need to know that you can't delay the tournament for 200 people.
Right.
And that you should be held to a higher standard. I think locals, yeah, whatever. Like, time limits, who needs them? Like,
it is. So I think that comment I'm actually disagreeing with.
Yeah.
Because
that happens to me a lot.
I think the problem with it is that since it's not being enforced in locals, people are not prepared to do it in these events. Where if locals just buckle down and say, hey guys, it's 50 minutes period, let's go, at least you're already instructed to a time limit.
Coliseum is strict like that.
Yeah.
They run everything as competitive,
Yeah.
even the pre-release. Like I was
Sure.
shocked.
Sure. So I think that that's like the one takeaway. But go back to the 2-0 thing, right?
Yeah, this is just scary for me, and I will admit that,
Mhm.
and that I could be overreacting. I don't understand a lot of things socially, so I could just be overreacting, but it feels wrong.
Mhm.
It feels like if I play round one against some random person and I 2-0 them, and it's like their first tournament ever, round two, maybe I played against someone who it's their first tournament and they played someone else, it's their first tournament, and I get lucky. I feel like there's going to be more luck involved. Whereas, like, if I pair into Rob, we are not probably going to, like, when we played in top eight, it was just back and forth. Whoever went first. When I played George, like, we barely got done our round, because we were both playing how you should be, like, and we were playing fast.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the game.
Right.
Also, if you don't have to worry about completing 3 games, decks might slow down even more. Like, there are times where I want to play something that quests for more, because if I don't win 1-0, then I'm drawing, and that's
0 points.
almost as bad as
It's worse now.
Now, yeah.
Now it's literally 0 points.
Even like in the Star Cities, it's like I'm playing Lady Tremaines.
Yeah.
I'm questing for 2. Stuff like that. And now you have no incentive. You're only playing 2 games in what we can only assume is still 50 minutes.
40 minutes.
Oh, it's 40 minutes?
40 minutes.
Okay. I don't follow. You haven't talked about it yet, I don't think.
No.
So I don't know. Because I don't follow all over the place. That's another thing, like, why the meta report is important. I'm not going to 10 different websites.
Yeah, it's my job.
To find all this stuff. Yeah. I'll not pay you to do it.
Sure.
Yeah, so I am worried. I do like that the game is so new that at least they can just be like, hey, we tried it. We're going back to this way. They said that they had people testing it, so hopefully the people testing it were right. You're also like, even like when people say stuff like, oh, how did this get past R&D? It's like they didn't have thousands of games pixelborn.
Yep.
Like, cut them a break.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that, like, the first chapter was tested with maybe 8 people.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The stuff also has to be a secret.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much they're expected.
I mean, it always this is like way off topic, but it was always weird to me that, like, the game was announced at D23, but it still took 9 months to release the rules.
Yeah.
Like,
and we still don't have, like, comprehensive.
Right, and we still don't have, now. Granted, we're hopefully having that before set championships, but it is weird to me that when you really start picking apart, the game is only 9 months old. Like, it's only been alive for 9 months. Obviously, it's grown, I think, way greater than they thought it would, because they didn't really advertise it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was all due to intent, because they knew that they couldn't hit the numbers if they did advertise and things like that. I think we'll get to a point where one day we'll wake up and I'll go to watch Disney Plus, and before my movie plays, it's going to be like an ad about Disney Lorcana. Like, I honestly think that's going to happen one day.
Yeah, I'd love to see an animated show.
Sure, I mean, why not, right? So I think that it's very interesting to like consider that. I do believe in chapter 1, the game was basic enough and it was compounded enough that, like, your games can be finished in a given time. But even Ruby Amethyst mirrors were proving that like isn't true. In set 2, I felt that with the addition of Spellbook, with the addition of Goat, with the over prevalence of Ruby Amethyst in those games, and like characters like Arthur and things like that, like
Minnie Mouse Surfer.
Minnie Mouse Surfer, right? Like,
made games very fast.
Like, it made games really fast, so where it wasn't really an issue. I feel now, with the addition of so much more targeted removal, that you can't really just play these cards and get so much value out of them. So then it turns into like, well, then I have to be able to answer every card. And because you end up with things like that, you end up with decks like Blue Steel that have 10 million answers to things. You have decks
and
like
like 5 win conditions.
right, not even honestly
Yeah.
until Lucky Dime was at it last week. That deck didn't even have an actual win condition.
Yeah.
Ruby Amethyst is the same way. It's like it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and when you start seeing a bunch of a format looking like that, then the clock actually becomes your biggest enemy. And I think that that's the results they're looking at. I think they have known about this potentially for way longer than anyone's actually assuming.
I mean, we weren't supposed to have tournaments yet.
Right, we weren't even supposed to have tournaments yet. But I think that going to a best of one comes into data that they have received or tested themselves or, watched and listened from players and things like that. Because honestly, every time I've ever had a conversation with any of them, they're always asking questions they're educational from those things. So I just feel that going to a best of two is completely fine.
Yeah.
Like it's completely fine. Like I'm totally in for it. But I'm with you. I am so
I'd be fine if it was just not the bonus point.
I'm so very skeptical of the bonus point.
Yeah.
Because I think that if we get 500 plus players in a tournament, it's a 10-round tournament, and one guy goes 2-0 every single round. I'm not even convinced that he even has to play in day two and he still makes top 8.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
I know.
Like that makes if you go 0-5 day 2 and still make top 8, like that doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, it could. I don't know. It could be good. Surprising decks might be better. Like something off meta that people don't know.
Yeah,
how to
but
play
like
against
here's the other fear.
until there's like an open deck list.
How many aggro players were so confident that they could, if they win the die roll, they feel confident about their matchups because they're like, oh hey,
I'm not playing that blue yellow deck in best of 2.
Right,
that
like,
only one on the play.
Like I'm gonna go first at least twice if I win the die roll. Now it's saying, hey, you're only gonna go first once per round.
Yeah.
And a lot of aggro decks do not play well on the draw. So does this strategy almost inadvertently remove aggro from the format? And if you inadvertently remove aggro from the format, doesn't that make all the control decks slower because they can be more greedy with their lines? I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see the ripple effects. Also, if anyone at Ravensburger wants me on the rules committee, let me know. I've got strong opinions. Like leaving your ink up until the end of turn should just be the rules. Flipping it over should end your turn. We shouldn't have to.
We shouldn't have Twitter debates about it.
I shouldn't. Like I should be able to go to France and not have to talk to my opponent.
Yeah.
Like it's in the rules that you have to communicate everything. What if I physically can't?
Yeah.
There was professional Magic players that were legitimately mute.
Yeah.
So it's like I flip over my ink, I'm done. You don't have 10-minute judge calls counting everything played.
Yeah.
We can go on tangents. We're an hour here.
We're not gonna go in, but it was
But Ravensburger hit me up. I'll also take a sponsorship.
It was fun. It was educational. We covered a lot. Is there any last thing you want to get out there? Any tidbits?
One last thing Stick can throw on the table. I mean, check out my sponsors, Share this video.
Yeah, that's fair. Share the video.
Yeah, blow up the Forbidden Mountain. Blow up everyone. Like, make the community better. Be willing to teach people at your locals. When I was a kid, I was looked down upon for being new. I don't do that to anyone now. I will help anyone with anything. You need the game to grow.
If we really want to be talking about this game in 5 years, we need enough people in the community willing to do those things.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
That's all I got.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out today, Dick.
Thanks for having me over. I appreciate it.
Right? In my house?
I know.
He shows up at my locals. Now he's in my house. Did we just become best friends?
Yup.
That's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See you later.
All right. That was fun.
Yeah, we're good?
Yeah, man, we're good.
Fucking garbage off.
Yeah, that's a sweet shirt.
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks for getting it custom for me.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, dude, I sweat to death in this hoodie.
They're heavy, right?
They couldn't give me a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Seems a joke.
That's fair. Playmat was cool, though.
Yeah, I mean, I use yours at locals.
So. Yeah, that's fair. All right. You want to get some lunch?
Yeah.
Cool.